Good morning, 8th graders. It is Tuesday. It is September 28th, and if you're watching this video, then you are home for the day. We're going to be tying up some loose ends with what we covered yesterday and so forth. So again, as always, feel free to pause this video as we go through all the different stuff. So our goal is to kind of wrap up that measurement lab. What I wanted to do was just kind of talk about it a little bit and give students the opportunity to ask questions. We'll have a graphing data day on Wednesday, graphing data day on Thursday, and Friday we'll start that lab. So that is the game plan for today and the rest of the week. So we finished this activity yesterday. Feel free to turn it in when you get back. It is worth points. It will be graded. And what we're going to do is talk about the stations and then put that information into our study guide. So again, I'm not going to stop and go into grave detail about all this different stuff, but feel free to pause the video and enter this into your study guide. And we can talk more about it when you return to class. The idea on your study guide is really looking for the different tools, what does it measure, what are the correct units, and then any tips to help you measure. So thermometer measures temperature. We measure in Celsius. Metric ruler measures distance or length in millimeters, centimeters, meters, kilometers. Timer measures time. We measure in seconds. Electronic balancer scale measures mass, and that's in milligrams, grams, or kilograms. Graduated cylinder measures volume, and that's in milliliters. So we're going to wrap up the lab. We're going to fill this part out of our study guide. Make sure to turn in the lab when you return. Then we'll get into density. So I can calculate the density of an object. We'll go through and talk about why density. So density is all over Earth science. We see it in air pressure and minerals, fronts, planet composition, ocean currents. We see density all over the place. So that is why I want to talk a little bit more about density and kind of stress that. So we'll write down the word of the day. The word of the day will be density, and I'll talk more about that I heart density, how it's a nice way to remember mass over volume. So density is the amount of mass in a given amount of volume. So I heart density. And then there's a video of just doing a density experiment. I won't show you the video, but we'll watch a short video and talk about what's happening in there. Basically, what it is going to be a regular can of Pepsi and a diet can of Pepsi, and one will sink and one will float. And we'll talk about what that has to do with density. So I can identify the controls and variables in a scientific experiment. So in your composition book, we are going to write down a few notes. And the notes that we're going to write down again, I'm going to go through these. You can pause them, pause the screen and write this down in your notes. But controls are parts of the experiment that stay the same. So you always want to make sure that you have as many controls as possible and limit the amount of variables. So for example, the size of the can. They were both Pepsi. They both had pop in them. The material, they both made out of aluminum. So we just have as many things controlled as possible. The amount of water, the same bin. Everything's the same temperature. And then we only want to change one thing. One is regular, one is diet. So the whole idea of, focusing on changing one thing and keeping as many things as controlled as possible. And then we're going to get into SpongeBob. So if you want, you can print off the SpongeBob sheet. Otherwise, you can get a copy when you return. We probably will not get far into SpongeBob. I'm guessing we'll talk about some of the examples and probably do Patty Power as a class together. And that's probably where we will stop for the day. I imagine that's about as far as we'll get. So we'll see you back on Wednesday. Have a good day.